Well, now who's going to match that? So one of the things that we see in the life of our Sahaba is that they had this component which we call in Urdu ishq. Ishq you can translate as extreme love or extreme desire to achieve a noble cause. We see in Sahaba, they were worried, they used to go to home and they used to stay and they used to come back to the masjid to see the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did not let the water used to touch the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did not let it land on the ground. They used to capture the spirit. This was the great ishq which the Sahaba had for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And their whole life was a reflection of that. It was also reported that one time, Umar Raziallahu ta'ala anhu was walking with his friends, and he was passing through an area and he ducked. And so his companion asked that, why did you duck here? But he said, well, I was going with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam during this time. There used to be a tree here, and the branch was lowering down, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ducked. So I just, in order to imitate that this is what ishq is all about. And if you see throughout the history of Islam, this mazhab was filled with ishq. And one thing which I see, and I don't know whether everybody sees, is not that in the Western Islam, that what I see, this element of ishq, the muhabba, and the passion is diminishing if it is not totally gone. So somehow, I don't know, the esteemed scholars are here, somehow this element of ishq and muhabba and passion needs to come back, and somehow in my kids and your kids and the generation that we are so worried about that they do not come to the masjid, if somehow we can inject this ishq of Rasulullah, ishq of Allah, and ishq of Waliullah in their heart, inshallah they will be connected to this masjid, to the masajid, their respective masajid. And on topic of ishq, Allah Iqbal has few verses on that. He said, Ishq dami Jibreel, Ishq dil Mustafa, Ishq Khuda ka Rasool, Ishq Khuda ka Kalam. He further said, Ishq hai mu'jizat, saltanat fiqr deen, Ishq adna ghulam, sahib tajo nageen. And this last one is amazing share, and I whenever I read it, I just say, and this is the thing that we are, I think, missing in Western societies, and especially in our youth, and especially in our too. Iqlul aql dilo nigah, murshid awwaleen hai ishq. Aql, the intelligence, the heart, and the vision. Its real leader, the first leader is ishq, that is the desire and love. Ishq now to shara deen, budh kadai tasawurat. If you don't have ishq, then all this shara and deen is nothing but the concepts of idols. So this is what Allama Iqbal and our ancestors understood, that unless we inject this love in our generations to come, and in ourselves, then deen will become pretty tough for us. And this is unfortunately we see in Western societies, too much emphasis is given on rationalism. Everything has to be proven with science, and there is a weightage for that. There is a weight, but I think we have given too much weight to rationalism as opposed to the integral part of deen, which was the mahabba, ishq, and the passion. And talking about the ishq, now I'm basically inviting the personality who somehow is linked to the line of Tazkiyah. Sheikh Naim Abdul Wali was born Gary Edwards in Crossville, Tennessee, but grew up in Indiana. He embraced Islam while attending Purdue University, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Entomology. In 1991, he moved to Medina, Saudi Arabia, to begin a series of studies in Islamic disciplines. After 2 years, he pursued further studies in the Faith District of Istanbul, Turkey, under various traditional scholars, including his spiritual director, Sheikh Muhammad Afandi. Since receiving his traditional certification, that is Ijaza, to teach the disciplines and texts he has taught in the United Kingdom, Western Europe, United States, Canada, and Australia. Unfortunately, he will be moving to Knoxville at the end of this year with his family. It's a great honor for me to bring Sheikh Naeem here to listen his words of wisdom.
Takbir.
I know I've got 2 minutes, but this is my last talk in Houston, and so I've been here since June 16, 2009, and I moved my family from Sydney, Australia, where we had been for 3 years. And I would like to take this opportunity first to thank the Brother Ummah Beg, for reaching out to me to speak and to participate and to share my concerns. To Mary Masjid, which of the masajid here in Houston has been probably the most opening to various programs and various views in the city of Houston, and Allah reward them for that vision and expansiveness of vision. To all of you, if I don't know you, I apologize for not having met you in the years I was here, and those of you I know, I hope that our parting will be parting as of the 7 under the shade of the throne of Allah, of two men who come together, but you do Muslims just call it that, to come together. They come together for the sake of Allah, and they depart from the sake of Allah, actually the love of Allah. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, for this reason I stand here. My choice of being a Muslim, and since 1982, has taken me many places, and I've met many personages, and it has been and continues to be transformed into my life. So what I was doing today, I wasn't just sitting here, playing a game. I was actually just taking notes from the other speakers. When Brother Ummah Beg reached out, he had requested that we speak of things that we felt were critical or important. And of course, he mentioned issues of the imam, the issues of administration, and the issues of congregation within the construct of the masjid in this space, the spaces we have here in Houston and other parts of this nation. And there are a lot of things I want to say to you tonight, and I don't have the opportunity for that. And of the things that I have been taking notes on, I believe we can't condense it all together. To me, and those who know me when I was speaking, I gave up being an imam in February this year. I don't ever want to be an imam again, by the way. I'm not going to be an imam again. Don't even laugh, because I'm not cut out to be an imam. So I have made a life choice to move away from that. So actually, the first thing I want to say is I'm not speaking to you as imam right now. I'm speaking to you as just a congregant with his goatee and his whole hat on. He's got a jubo. Because I think when people see this on me, they think I'm someone special. But I'm not anyone special, except that is the Tata, the crown of the Arabs, and to be the dust of Muhammad at his feet, well, that's an honor in itself. So a little bit to remind me of it in my daily life, I don't mind having. I'll have respect for it, and my position as just a congregant and not an imam. I will not wear it in front of you. How many of you voted this year? How many voted for Trump? But honestly, who voted for Trump? Who voted for Clinton? Who voted for Libertarian Party? I was going to vote Green, because I thought Texas would be about a swing state, and I believe we should have more than 2 parties in this country. But instead of voting Green, I'm actually a member of the Green Party. I voted for Clinton, because I felt like since Texas was heading probably being a swing state, I better support her. Though I didn't really agree with her, I wasn't actually happy with Trump either. But anyway, we got what we got. And now we'll live with it. So I think we'll all survive on watching reruns of Saturday Night Live for the next 4 years, just trying to get through it. Anyway, I don't know. What I wanted to speak about, and there were things that were mentioned tonight, one of the common themes was civic engagement, involvement through projects, whether they're mosque-based or along with, whether it's our youth community, whether it's beyond the mosque confines of the property of the mosque, beyond to the larger community, civic engagement, being an engaged citizen. And that's a very common theme, and I absolutely applaud all of you for doing that. I would direct you to a mosque in Cincinnati, Clifton Mosque, which I visited a few times, which I find a very dynamic mosque, one of the most dynamic mosques I've seen in the United States, and to see what they do at that mosque. And they have an amazing convert turnout, by the way. I think this last year they had over 700 converts in that mosque. And you know, what's interesting, if you look at the Pew Institute research on conversions in the United States, it's about the same as the number of people who leave Islam in the United States. There's Muslims who are born Muslims who opt out to Islam. So it's interesting, according to Pew Research, which is one of the most respectable research institutes in this country, that statistically, Muslims are sort of static. Our conversion income, our intake of conversions is about equal to our people exiting Islam in this country. Most of us aren't aware of that, and we don't think about that. But I'm sure there are people you know in your life who exited Islam, who no longer want to be called Muslim or accept Islam. And that's their choice, mashallah. And that's fine, as far as I'm concerned, because no one's faith is in my control. None of my own children's faith in my control, though I'm a concerned parent, for example. The point of that is, there are the things we can hear tonight from the speakers to make us feel inspired by our tradition and our faith, but there are also just the hard realities of what faith demands in the 21st century. I believe, this is my point I want to bring up today, or tonight, is I posted on Facebook this morning, because I do a lot of posting on Facebook. It gets me in trouble. It's got me in trouble with some of the members of the IHH community because of things I said about the Medina student graduates a few years ago, and it was a big stink among some people. But I don't retract the things I say. I stand by them, and you can go back to the whole post and find that if you're curious. The point of that is, today I posted what we need is intellectual rigor and spiritual vigor. As a faith community, I want to read to you from Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor is a Canadian philosopher. Particularly, he writes works on secularity and modernity. And in his work on secularity, he speaks of the early 16th century European, and 3 points that they were pretty much described as. He said, first is that there was a sense of God's providence, seeing the great events of the natural order as acts of God. That's the first thing. The second one was a society in which the gatherings of a guild, a city council, a parish, were interwoven with ritual and worship. And thirdly, a vivid sense of living in an enchanted world filled with spiritual forces for good and evil. That mindset is not the mindset of America 2016. That vision, that idea where the providence of God, the authority and sovereignty of God does not exist anymore for modern people principally. This is one of the definitions and aspects when we deal with secularity and modernity. But if you take these points, you can see that most Muslims you know do hold these understandings of reality that were held by a European in the year 1500. That doesn't make you medieval in your mindset. It means that you are still a custodian and a bearer of a sacred understanding of humanity. And for me, what we need to be considering in this masjid, for example, not one person today of all the scholars mention the etymology of masjid. Simple. Place or time, place literally of where you make sajda. That's what it is. And you know that, the masjid, the place of sajda. What is sajda? It's drawing near to God. It's that which when you do it, you are closest to your Lord, which you know from the well-known hadith. The function and role, not merely simply, as is articulated by some of the speakers, to be a gathering point for the community. It was a gathering point of community which you mentioned about coming to sacredness, of sacredness. And sacredness is to be in a state of divine providence and in a state of awe. For example, when Charles Taylor is speaking of living in an enchanted world filled with spiritual forces of good and evil, we believe in jinn, for example. We believe in an evil jinn called shayateen. We accept angelic beings as being part of the alameen. When the Rasul came as Rahmat al-Alameen, of course, the word alameen in that language, as also found in Surah Al-Fatih, has different exegetical approaches towards it. But one exegetical approach, which is commonly stated, is that it includes all the things that have sentience and intelligence to them, whether they be jinn kind, and angel kind, or human kind, for example. So we are people who hold on to this belief in these unseen entities that have self-awareness, consciousness, that we do, for example. While that is something which is not considered real anymore by the majority of people outside the masjid in our communities, for example. Yes, you will find certainly maybe some Christians who do, but even amongst them, many of them still don't. For example, the reason I'm mentioning this is that we are these heirs, which was mentioned today also. We are heirs of the prophets. It was alluded to here in one of the speakers. We are heirs of the prophets. Each of us in this room is an heir. And in that receiving of being of the Muhammadan inheritance, whether it's the Quran as revealed speech, or whether it's his precedent, his sunnah, or those who follow him in righteousness, this is a sacred trust that we have as a small community to bear witness to in this larger community in the United States. But in order for us to do that, we have to be well grounded intellectually and spiritually. We have to have intellectual rigor. We have to be able to address modernity face on. To me personally, one of the most eloquent Muslim writers who gives a response, though I may not agree with him completely in everything he writes, is Dr. Sayyid Nasser, for example. I find his writings very refreshing. And it is that type of intellectual rigor that we need to cultivate. For example, you spoke of ishq. We can speak of desiring a love for God. But first you have to lay out the proof that there is this God in the first place, the love. Your belief in God cannot be an emotive state only. It cannot definitely be proven necessarily rationally. It's a mix between the two. Signs and indications, rationality, intuition, as it's properly understood, a sense about higher reality, which is commonly shared by most human beings. For example, it isn't one proof or two proofs that prove the divine. It's a collective of proofs. It's accumulation of indications and available evidence. And evidence doesn't have to be necessarily something which you can kick around like the tire of your car. No more than you can take your love to your wife and say, I love you, and show love as an independent entity outside yourself. You can show the signs of love, indicators of love, fellowship, intimacy, listening, patience. Those are indicators of love. But that will not be love as it all is in the nature of what its nature is. So to me, And this is what I struggled with. But one reason I left being an imam is I realized it wasn't my place to be that person on the pulpit anymore. One is I have a style of speaking that usually shoots over a lot of people's heads in the congregation, and I have been told many times I need to tone it down. Bring it down to the level. Make it understandable. Which I always take offense at, not because it's a personal offense. To me, when someone says you need to tone it down so people understand what you're saying, it's like, for me, it's not a personal assault on myself. What it is an assault on my congregation. Because I think that when we speak from Quran and Sunnah, the Quran being the most eloquent text in the Arabic language, and Muhammad is being the most eloquent of men who spoke Arabic, that this deen in articulation requires eloquence and proficiency of language. And thus I will accord it its due rights as its status demands. And I have the hope that, as I tell my own sons, you need to all read a lot. Increase your vocabulary. It's not because it makes you a more articulate human being, it'll help you with your SAT at the end of the day. You want to go to a good college, you'll go write well and speak well. So for me, I would want to see our masajid as places of worship, of drawing near to God. They bring these two things together. They bring together an intellectual rigor. How could you do that? Well, one is that you have to make sure that the imam is a person of intellectual rigor. I studied in Turkey in a traditional Ottoman-based curriculum. It's like very similar to the Dars al-Nizamiya in the subcontinent. And it was brilliant in teaching me those disciplines, which have been the mainstay of the general legalistic and also scholastic enterprise of the Ummah for many centuries. We read many works on Kalam, for example, in the Ash'ari and Hadridite tradition, but we never read once Hume or Locke, for example, in the madrasa. Never once were they really known. And actually the only Ottoman scholar I can think of who actually wrote clearly a defense of an Islamic ontology, a discussion on being and purpose and nature of God, was Mustafa Sabri Effendi, who died in 1954, the last Shaykh of Islam. His Mawqif al-Aql, Way Stations of the Intellect. I tried to get a copy in Egypt when I was there in February, but I told I wasn't forced to take it out of the country of Egypt. Trying to get those banned books there, forced to take it out. So I had to like sneak it out. But I got it out. It's an intense text, but something that most of you never even heard of. He's one of the few early 20th century Muslim scholars. And actually, I really know in the Sunni tradition, we had a really strong defense of an Islamic ontology. Of course, in the Shia tradition, you have Mullah Sadra, a brilliant thinker, and his metaphysics are amazing. Many Sunnis would never touch that book because of a Shia bookshelf. I used to be that way. But I threw that shackle off. I threw the shackle off of asking hard questions for myself. I ask very hard questions. My students know I ask very hard questions to myself. Because I need to know. And one of the things I've realized over the years is that for example, the years I've been here in Houston, I've had many young people come to me. And I'm oftentimes a person who people send to, especially when they have the hard questions, to do with philosophy and things like that. They think, Sheikh, I want to be able to quite discuss it. Not that I have a degree in entomology, insect physiology, biochemistry. We need more people who have degrees in philosophy, degrees in theology, in history. We need people like that. That's another concern I have. We can't just be thinking in our community of trying to have our second generation born Muslims, which are many of them now, that they just become engineers and doctors in the hard sciences. Because we understand there's an economic advantage in that, and no one's fooled on not understand that. Most engineers will make more than most philosophers. I got that. Okay? But that's where our paradigm shift has to be shifted in our communities. Most of you here are economic immigrants. That's a fact. That's why you came here. I didn't come here that way. I appreciate that this mosque was probably built on the hard work of economic immigrants. I understand that, and I'm grateful for that. But being an economic immigrant is not necessarily wearing prophetic sandals at the same time. And you must define yourselves. As I tried when I was at Gaussian, as I mentioned, for the few years I was there, it was my last stint as an imam. And those who came to my Jummah, I got these papers up, okay? I've got it. He's very diligent. It's actually a pink card, like Pepto-Bismol, by the way. It's not like blood red. The point I wanted to mention about that is, that mindset has established you. Now you must throw off that mindset. And you must see yourselves as, in our Naqshbandi tradition, Imam Rabbani, Ahmad Sa'indi, Zuruhu, you have the Aql Ma'ash. If you're Aql Ma'ash, you're in your mind of the gathering of Ma'ash, the things of the world, that's fine. My Shaykh would always say, he had many wealthy students in Turkey. And all he could say to them was, pay your zakat. That's an obligation. Everything else you do on your own. It's your wealth. You'll be asked about it. It's better that the right hand is more known than the left hand, but all I can say is pay your zakat. And that's just as a nasiha to you, an advice to you. We must change, but maintain economic well-being. Without economic well-being, there will only be frustration. But you have to shift from aql ma'aj to aql ma'ad, to the mindset of standing before God, the mindset of resurrection. For me, what it means to be a Muslim in this land is to be in prophetic sandals and speaking to an empire, the American empire, and the venture of this American empire, with its nationalism and nativism, which we saw come full force in this election, and to be witnesses to prophetic and heavenly truths, to humanity, and to these people. One way you do that is by getting out and doing the civic duties of being the good neighbor, of being the responsible citizen. But beyond that is that we have to be able to be also defenders of God, spokesmen for God. We have to be able to respond to the rise of individualism, which pretty much defines acute individualism is an issue in our modern society. We are a people that still understand the idea of the jama'ah, the collective, which is antithetical to the strict and rather extreme forms of individualism which we find in the United States. There are many things for us to be doing. Anyway, those are some things I want to share with you. I think I'm sort of wandering off here. I mean, quickly, my notes really quickly. So the first thing I want to say, I'll wrap it. So, I leave it to you in this community to do your best. It was good that, we had a lot of open discussion. I hope that beyond tonight it continues. Some people didn't show up who were invited probably. I don't know why. They showed up for good reason for not. I hesitated because I thought, well, I'm moving. What do I have to say? You know, my sons, let me tell you this. My sons, you know, their mother's Turkish with their values, and I'm me, the convert dad. And my sons struggle between their mother with her traditional Turkish values and what she thinks it should be, which is like always pushing a rock, and me, the father, who because he struggled as a child with faith being forced upon him, he struggled as an adult Muslim parent to what are the limits where I will force my children themselves. And I struggle with that. And I don't hide in any way. And my sons struggle. My sons struggle with being Muslim. If you were to ask them hard questions, they could answer it, you know, at a test to get their grade. But their own personal conviction is their personal conviction. And that fluctuates. And I'm sure many of his parents, it's the same thing. So, one way we overcome that is that we are actually authentic. Try to be authentic with ourselves and our children. Second of all, don't be afraid when they answer the really hard questions. The questions you feel threatened by. Why should I believe? What good is it in for me? Don't be afraid. I've learned not to fear asking the hard questions. Or fear that a Muslim might think, well, that's sort of really edgy, Naeem. Are you sure you should be thinking like that? I have no fear of that anymore. It's only if I put my hand in the fire when I understand the reality of it. And I know that times my asking hard questions are means for others to get answers at the same time. I hope you will be not just going to this mosque to go to other mosques. I hope you'll be going to Al-Nur and not just saying, well, that's a Barelvi mosque. You know, they do weird stuff. They kiss their thumb like that, you know, and they say, yeah, Muhammad, Hasha, Astaghfirullah, shirki, 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 shirki. You know, and I hope that from Al-Nur they'll come and say, well, those are Divanis, you know, and they say Allah's kadhab, and Allah makes, you know, he lies, and, you know, that's disbelief. And I hope they can get over these other groups we have to deal with. Trust me, I've been in all of them. In the years I've been Muslim, I've been everywhere. There are many wells to drink from, and I drank from many wells. I leave you with a prayer that perhaps this night is something good for the city. I think since, you know, Brother Khan here, who's the president of ISGH, and his son, Faraz, is, you know, studied in Jordan. And Faraz would come to me when I lived here in Sugarland, when I would read to him Ali Sabuni, who was a medieval scholar who preceded Taftazani, and from which Taftazani, his creedal texts were principled upon. And Faraz came, because I read that in Turkey when the text I read, and he wanted me to read it to him, so he would come to my home, and I read it to him. And the poor man, I felt so sorry for Faraz, I was always going off on some tangent. You know, I had to get into evolution and cosmology, and why do we have to accept the atomism of Razi? Why can't we think about quantum physics and design a new approach towards that issue of how understanding the nature of matter, and how he did an argument for the proof of God? And he had to listen to all that stuff from me, and he persevered in it. And now he's actually tuning college teaching. And I'm hoping that, you know, my inquiries, my personal questioning of even classical texts I read, that he himself would take those notes and ask those questions so he could speak to a young person in 2017 or 2020 or 2025 who will be living in this modern world, but using a classical text to bridge sacred tradition and modernity. This is what we need to be doing, I believe, in our communities. So we have to have intellectual rigor and spiritual vigor. The fact that the Qasida Burda was read here is important. You should encourage these things in this mosque, in all the mosques. Any member who doesn't like it, it's not an obligation, it should be an option. If someone wants to have a dhikr gathering, let them have it. If they want to do a gathering where they're standing and doing moving dhikr, let them do it. If If they can play basketball out there in the basketball court, which we allow them to do, surely people can stand here and in a prescribed and full way of liquor. We shouldn't have any problem with that. We should be so accepted. So may Allah guide us to more ecumenical inclusiveness in our mosques, these places of sajda, because we are all striving nearness to Allah. We want that, and inshallah we'll get that. So if I've wronged anyone here today or before, I ask you for your forgiveness. Please make dua for us. We move to Knoxville, inshallah, and I'm just going to start writing and doing bonza. Anyway, that's my plan. My turban on
Jazakallah. Now I request Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. We request the President of Islamic Society of Greater Houston to come here. We would like to honor our esteemed scholars, to present them a token of gratitude. And Sheikh Imam Tawfiq also requested to come here, inshallah.
No, just I want to thank our administration here in Masjid, our Imam, all the esteemed scholars who came here. May Allah accept all this time we spend as ibadah. And just remember that every one of us is an ambassador of Islam. So the responsibility of doing good, the responsibility of elevating our community does not just lie with the people who are sitting here. It lies on every one of you. And if each one of us become the symbol of Islam and hold the ethical standards of Islam, not only we will be better off, your families will be better off, our community will be better off, but I can assure you this society will be better off. Basically, thank you very much. May Allah accept all the things and may Allah help us learn what we listen. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, I would request now to Mr. Javed Sahab to stick around here. I will also request Brother Anwar Wadiwala and Brother Harun Dusani to come here. They are the management of this masjid, and we are grateful that we have a very good team here at Maryam Masjid. So I would request first of all Ustad Shahzad Shafi to come and please accept his gift. It's a pleasure for the Maryam Masjid to host you. Next, I would request Brother Hisham Ibad from Maskati to come and accept his gift. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to collaborate with each other with love and affection and keep this spirit alive forever. And make this city a symbol, a model city for the rest of the United States to follow. Then what Mufti Wasim has actually gone here to go to another, then I would request Ustad Umesh Sharif has also gone. Then I would request Sayyid Farhad Abbas to come and accept his gift. Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Thank you very much for your thoughts. And finally, I would humbly request Sheikh Naeem Abdul Wali to come here and accept his gift. Hopefully you will revisit us from Knoxville again. And finally, on the demand of a lot of people, since they heard the first time, okay, I think Imam Sahib is saying the time is definitely way beyond 9. We had given 9 o'clock as our food time, so inshallah this is dinner time. We have a, sure.
since we presented the gifts to our shiur, I would request somebody to make dua and give a gift of dua from the whole gathering here for our shiur, for our administrators, and for our imam. So, that is the gift everybody needs to give, please.
The fact that everyone came out here today and everyone showed tolerance, and the fact that Sheikh Naeem Abdul Wali is here and we all listen to him, and the fact that Imam Sheikh Sayyid Farhad, Mufti Wasim, Ustaz Shazad Shafi, Umar Sharif, Brother Hisham Libay, and the other Sheikh, all of us this is a proof that we are united. This is a proof that we are one ummah. And although there may be many people outside ready to divide us, but we are one under the banner of Islam, under the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We have something which is in our hearts, and that is our iman, and that is our faith. So today I congratulate all of you and thank all of you for coming here today. Jazakumullah khair. And with this we will conclude. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His protection, for His mercy, for His guidance. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are in need. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the refugees. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sick. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the needy. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the thousands and thousands of Muslims who are less fortunate than we living in this country. That if He can utilize us, enable us to do something good for the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That if He may utilize us to continue with the legacy that our beloved Prophet Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught and embedded us. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma ansur al-Islam wal-Muslimin. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أيد الإسلام والمسلمين وذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدنيا والآخرة ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين جزاكم الله خير السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان بالكرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق
और इसका आखिरी शेर जो है ये दुआ भी है या रब्बी बिल मुस्तफा बल्लिग मaqasidana. Oh my Lord, with the elect one make us attain our goals. So mashallah we present today's night. Ya Rabbi bil Mustafa balligh maqasidana waghfir lana ma mada ya wasi'al karami. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim.
सुभान अल्लाह, सुभान अल्लाह, सुभान अल्लाह, क्या बात है जनाब, माशाअल्लाह।